Welcome to Lockdown Music. On this programme we show how Peter McVeigh is making waves with new group St Alban. We hear music from halfway around the world at the virtual Sunflower Folk Club, how lockdown made space for the stargazing otter in Dan Leith's life, and why coronavirus delayed Brian Hassan's lifelong love tribute. Peter McVeigh recorded a stunning set of songs at Slemish Sessions Studios in preparation for touring Europe shortly before the pandemic began.
So when I was considering sort of going out and doing band gigs in Europe, I thought I kind of needed some sort of showcase to show what the band could do. And I thought I would ask for the Arts Council for a bit of help to try and do that and say, well, look, I want to put on a live show and record it. I want it to look good. I want to like good audio, and I want to show sort of promoters across in Europe that this is what the live band just sounds like in a room. And we ended up recording 7 songs, and Save Me was just one of those ones that wasn't meant to be a wee standout from it. It was just, it's the last track on my debut album, and it ended up in the session because it had strings on it, and we had strings there, and I just thought it'd be better using the strings while they're there. I had it all scored out already, thanks to Mark Evans. So we just did it on the day, and it ended up one of the best songs from the takes.
But this pain don't stop. There's an emptiness here instead. It brings you down, leaves your soul on the ground. Day after day after day. You spend your time searching, searching. You'll never find it when you're searching for love. Just close your eyes. Save me, you'll all be alright. Just save me, don't turn out the light. Save me tonight. Save me, it'll all be alright.
You did that all in a day?
Yeah, we did. I'll let you into a wee insight. Actually, this is the magic of it. The room was so small that we had to do the whole band in one day, and then the strings the next day.
Wow. So that's Peter McVeigh's solo, but Peter McVeigh's also looking at a joint collaboration with musicians scattered halfway across, well, at least across the Atlantic, St Alban. How did that one come about?
I decided to reach out to my favorite artists and say, do you want to work on some music together? And I'd always really loved Andy Dunlop's guitar playing and his songwriting and stuff from Travis, and just sent him a tweet and says, do you want to start a band together and work on some music? And he says, well, actually, we're going to be in Belfast in August if you want to just go and have a pint. And I think that was more to suss out if it was a psycho or not. Like, I think it was like, is this the person that's going to stand outside his door and try and murder him at some point? So we had a couple of beers, had a chat about what the project would be. And then sort of as we started writing songs, I had worked with Mark before on strings for my solo albums. And Mark's like a really successful string arranger. He's worked for bands like Train and things, and works for loads of people in the country scene in Nashville when he lives in Nashville. So we just sort of got together and became this trio. And the first album was just basically about emigration, and we're all like, Mark's family's Irish, his heritage is Irish, Andy's from Glasgow and I'm from Belfast, and we all sort of are emigration cities. You all head out of those cities and head to other places around the world.
Hold on to the words we say. See, together we'll grow old. I feel the waves crash upon me now. I feel the fear oh so close. See no tears upon your face. Your hands slip away.
It came out exactly at the start of lockdown. We had to cancel all the shows. On the week of lockdown is when it came out, and the shows were cancelled. But all the comments, it sold really well, and people sent us messages saying that totally got me through the first few months of just sitting down, listening to songs about the sea and things like that.
And of course, the biggest problem is when you devise an album, when you go to the cost of recording it, you're hoping to recoup some of those costs by touring the album. You didn't get the chance to do that.
Not at all. And I think we'll constantly have this balance of I'll still continue my solo career, and he'll still be in Travis, and they are a very successful band. And St. Alban will sort of fit in between that. So I'll align my solo releases with Travis releases and go off and do my bit, and then we'll come back and do the St. Alban stuff.
See, my face don't fit with my voice no more. See, my smile, it slips to a place still sure. Oh, I feel so old, like a tree soon to be felled. But it's not my age, it's my heart that don't feel well. See, I need you. Oh, Sarah, come back home. Yeah, I need you. Turn your light off and go home.
The beautiful thing about being a self-employed musician as well, that it isn't just standard. It isn't, you don't know what's going to happen in 3 months after all the dates are booked and what happens after that. But somehow it just keeps working. It just keeps happening. And whether that's down to talent or sheer luck, we'll find out, I'm sure, at some point.
There's absolutely no doubting the talent, Peter. Now, Peter runs his own recording studio. One of his clients is Brian Hassan. Brian was getting ready to record a set of 4 singles dedicated to his lifelong love when COVID struck, literally. Brian started his story by talking about releasing the first single.
It's called What's in a Smile. It was released at the end of March, I think. Yeah, end of March. And it's the first from the 4 series. It was done as a project with the assistance. I have to give credit to the Arts Council for Northern Ireland for their financial assistance as part of the project to assist musicians and artists during the COVID-19 lockdown. It has got quite a bit of airplay and quite a bit of very good publicity, thankfully.
What's in a smile that helps it steal all of your mind, not once reveal how it can take complete control over your heart as it captures your soul. It's a smile, it's a look, somehow it hooks, it beguiles and enthralls and traps your heart as it falls for that smile, for that look.
That was January 1985. I was at a disco in an hotel in Lifford called the Intercounty Hotel, which had a disco called the Pink Paradiso. And my usual Saturday, Friday, Saturday night was spent there with my mates, maybe fueled up slightly, and looked across, and this girl smiled back at me, and that was the initial contact. So remember just the look and the smile, and I was hooked. Of course, then you have to wait a wee while you get the nerve up, maybe have an extra drink and go across, because that age you need something. I was at an all-boys school, grew up separate education, there was no male and female mix, so therefore not used to dealing with girls. So eventually got the nerve up to go across and ask her would you go out. And the second single is called Hey Pretty Lady, and it is basically, you get to the stage where you've got the nerve up and you're walking across and you're thinking, I have to ask this girl out.
So hey pretty lady, girl. Oh, I'll sing a song for you, one to pick you up, chase away the blue. And for you, well, I'll do anything, 'cause if you give my love a chance, who knows the joys will bring. So hey, pretty lady, will you be my girl? Hey, pretty lady, will you be my girl? So hey, pretty lady, will you be my girl?
Thank you. So that's the second single. The third one then is It Must Be Love, because you've gone out for a while and all of a sudden you realise you haven't seen her, you miss her, and you realise things have changed. It's definitely love. And the fourth one then is called After Midnight, and it's based on, there's a few lines in it, in Paris on a rainy night, there was still romance in the air. And it's based on some of the things we've done over the years.
So I could make a wish, so I could have it all. I'd make a wish, so this night could last forever. I'd make a wish, so we could always be together. I'd make a wish, so my dreams could come true. I'd make a wish, so I could spend all my time with you.
Then in September, I got COVID. So that knocked me back a bit, and that put things off. We had a plan, we had a timeline, what we were going to do, when we we're going to do it. We decided on the songs, and at that stage, there's not a lockdown coming up to Christmas. So I went to Peter McVeigh, a fantastic musician and has a fantastic studio, great ideas. And the other problem I had as well is I was having to record vocals and guitar in the Strabane, and I hadn't realised that COVID had affected my voice. So I did the recordings, sent them to Peter, and when I heard them back, I couldn't believe the effect it had. My voice wasn't good. So I had to go back to the studio again in Strabane and ask the guy, I think we had to do it 3 times, till got them up to about maybe 80%, 85%. Not as clean as I'd like them to be, but at the same time, they probably suit the songs. I think, so I got those done for the 3rd time, sent them to Peter, and then Peter did his magic. And when he sent the master tracks back to me, he had been conversing and saying, I'm trying this, trying that. And when I got the first one back, I have to say, wasn't a smile. I was smiling, definitely was.
Something else that made Brian smile were the otters he saw on his recovery walks. Now, they weren't stargazing otters like Dan Leith's lockdown creation.
I've kept myself busy, you know, which was a good thing. I needed to keep myself busy. You know, I think I was worried at the start that I might just, you know, sit around and watch too much television. But I think living alone kind of forced me to use my time wisely and use my creativity wisely.
Falling about your feet, see those cannonball stacks of steep. Gamble, what isn't this for me? Do we hold fire or set it free? But time could make this whole for me, and paint in oils my destiny, and all for a garden with gods that make this happen. But you can't rule your dynasty, so hold your footing and make your peace. Maybe this wasn't meant to be. Some things you're not programmed to see. Checker's shadow has got you beat.
I've always been writing music. You know, my dad wrote music. It was really important to him. This EP was kind of for him in a way, because I've been performing for years. I've been doing comedy songs. I've been singing in shows. But there's a difference between getting up in front of a 1,000 people and pretending to be someone else, and bearing your soul with your own music. So it was very important to my dad, who passed away about 5 years ago there. It's very important to him that I did this. So now seemed like the right time to focus on getting the songs I wanted polished and written. I had nothing but time to do it with, you know, and obviously inspiration as well.
I mean, it's wonderful to have the luxury of time and the focus to be able to use that time creatively. But the other thing that you've done that's been absolutely stunning is you've written a book. You've written a book for children called The Stargazing Otter. Where did that come from?
Well, it's an idea that I had a few years ago, and obviously all my live performance gigs were cancelled, so I had time. And I decided this was the time to tell that story. It's also a story that touches on themes of isolation and how hard that can be. And I thought it was relevant because, you know, children were being brought up at the minute through this very strange period of history. They're being affected by that.
There once was an otter who liked to gaze at the stars. He would lie on his back and drift down the river, looking up in wonder. Often he would try and count them, but there were far too many to keep track of. When he was a pup, his mother always chastised him for staying up too late. "Go to sleep, little whelp," she would say. "The stars will still be there tomorrow."
I have to say that my grandchildren love the book. Their parents reading the book to them have often been slightly overcome by grief because it deals with some difficult areas.
That's part of life. I've made a lot of work for young audiences over the years in performance-wise, and I'm not someone that thinks you should shy away from the difficult issues. Obviously, the loss of my father is something to overcome. And I used to create a lot of work with an amazing illustrator called Patrick Sanders, who took his own life about 3 years ago. And, part of the book was, written for him because he helped me to create such beautiful stories. And I wanted to not shy away from the fact that people suffer from mental health, and particularly in this difficult time that people might be suffering, but that it's okay,
And so the years passed, and eventually the otter's mother lay down into the final sleep, leaving him alone. He lived by himself from then on, watching the fish, admiring the patterns on pebbles, watching raindrops hang from leaves. And when the sun set, he would lie on his back and look up at the stars.
The story is absolutely wonderful, and it does give a sense of peace as you read through it. The illustrations are totally fabulous.
Well, the illustrator is a wonderful artist called Vicki Firth, and she ended up doing lots of fun illustrations for my Christmas albums and things over the years. So she's always been there. So she was the first person that I need an illustrator. I know exactly where to go. Vicki will knock this out of the park, and she really did.
Oh, what a wonderful dream it would be, thought the otter, if I could dive beneath the river and be one with the stars. Oh, how beautiful that would be. I would no longer be alone. I would be one with the beauty. It was just then, as the stargazing otter had finished this thought, that he realized that he wasn't alone.
Extracts from The Stargazing Otter, read by Dan Leith. Folk clubs had to close after the onset of coronavirus. Belfast Sunflower Folk Club took to Zoom with great results. We start our visit with a song about Peter Norman, the Australian Olympic medalist who was blacklisted for supporting the call by African American athletes for civil rights on the podium in Mexico.
Peter felt no regret for what he had done to be one with his brothers that day. The civil rights badge he wore with great pride, it said what he had to say. Many years had gone by when his life had expired, and his country still refused to forgive. His coffin was hoisted by Carlos and Smith, no apology while he still lived. Peter Norman, we salute you. A special day now bears your name, to remind us all people are equal and no one should have to bear shame.
The people were saying that no two were e'er wed, but one had a sorrow that never was said. And I smiled as she passed with her goods and her gear.
One of the really nice things about this has been the way in which we've made really good friends with people across the world that we didn't know before, from California to Belgium to Dublin. And it'll be a shame to leave them behind when we go back to the real world. So we're talking about the possibility of some sort of hybrid when we get back to the folk club, the real folk club.
I walked into a field of sunflowers today, stood mesmerized as I watched them sway. They smiled at me and I smiled at them, they blew my blues away.
The dabbling duck and the widgeon with his breast of chestnut brown, red shank with their orange legs and the lapwing tumbles down, flickering black and flashing white when their many wings abound. Birds of patterned plumage at Belfast Lough can be found.
There is great jubilation and laughing. It's true that there's no place like home, with all of my friends and relations. But too soon I will have to be gone, for there's not enough work in this country. There's not enough land to go round. So with thousands of others just like me, I'm headed back for London town. I am headed back for London town.
I think the most important aspect of it is that it is genuinely a folk club. I mean, there are places that advertise themselves as folk clubs, but in the old tradition of the floor singers and then the main guest or guests in the second half, that's been a long-standing tradition, but there are really no other clubs in Ireland that are doing that nowadays.
Within the fire and out upon the sea, crazy man Michael was walking. He met with a raven with eyes black as coals, and shortly they fell a-talking. Your future, I will tell to you. Your future you often have asked me. Your true love will die by your own right hand, and crazy man Michael will cursed be.
From Strabo Hill to Lisnadell, and from Comfort to Newry town, there's no girl so neat as that damsel sweet. She's the flower of the county down.
I have to admit up front, no one could have been more skeptical about going to Zoom or going online than me, because I'm such a hands-on person. I just think that some experiences are meant to be for the real world, but I've really had to change my mind on some aspects of that, because people love to connect with other people in whatever medium. And, you know, and music is obviously such a good connector of people anyway, but just the way we've been able to get a more global audience and really, really relate to each other, that has been quite surprising. And I suppose it just says so much about human beings and what makes us tick, you know.
Loud are the bells of Norwich and the people come and go. Here by the Tower of Julian I tell them what I know. Ring on bells of Norwich and let the winter come and go. All shall be well again, I know.
And now every night at 6 bells they appear. When the moon it is high and the sky it is clear, those two constant lovers with all their young charms rolling over and over in each other's arms, crying, oh, my love is gone. He's the youth I adore and he's drowned, and I never shall see him no more.
Could I just say one more thing? Eugene McEldowney, who is from Belfast originally, obviously, and living now in Dublin. And Eugene is what one might call a professional Zoomer. He's on every Zoom club imaginable. But he constantly tells me, and I don't think he's telling the other clubs this, he tells me that the Sunflower Folk Club is the best Zoom club, the most friendly, and the one he loves to come on to.
Thanks and good luck to Peter McVeigh, Brian Hassan, Dan Leith, and the stalwarts at the Sunflower Virtual Folk Club. Now, if you have a story about creativity or ingenuity during lockdown or any other time, just get in touch so we can share it on NVTV. And finally, my next adventure is a trip in the steppes of Genghis Khan. Don't hold your breath though. I'm planning to get there by slow boat to China. See you next time.